What's up guys and welcome to this video. Today we're going to unbox the Google Pixel 6 Pro and give it a little bit of a review from a content creator slash photographer slash aspiring videographer perspective. I will not talk about all the details and specs about this phone. There are a bunch of videos out there that you can check out and find out all about that stuff. However, I will put a link down in the description where you can find the spec sheet and you can check out all those details. I will focus more on the performance when it comes to photo and video, and how good of a tool is it for a content creator in general. This will include shooting photo and video content as well as managing it, and the overall user experience when it comes to the tasks that I have to get done every day. At this point, a quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. I didn't get paid to say any of this. However, Google sent me this phone because I'm part of their Team Pixel, but that will not influence my review or opinion about this phone. I'm here to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. So let's get into the video and unbox this thing. So the first thing that I noticed when I got this phone is that the packaging is extremely thin. That basically means that Google also got rid of the charging brick or plug or whatever you want to call it, and therefore they can pack their phone in a smaller package and eliminate a little bit more of the waste. So let's go ahead and open this because I have not opened it yet. Here, proof. All right, let's rip this open. First thing that you see when you open it is the phone itself. So let's get that bad boy out. So what else do we got in here? We got the USB-C to USB-C cable. We got an adapter, USB-C to regular USB. And then we got a little bit of, and we got the ejection tool for a SIM over here as well as a little pamphlet with instructions and all that stuff. All right, now we're gonna peel this off because I know everybody wants to hear that. Well, that wasn't as spectacular as I thought that would sound. All right, guys. This is the phone. Whew. Feels solid. It's a huge phone. Yeah, and that's basically all that's in the box. Very minimalistic approach. I like it. The less waste, the better, like I said. Now to the phone itself, it might just be me, but I feel like this is really huge. Like I've never had a phone this big. It looks slick and it feels really solid. It feels like basically I'm holding a big piece of glass in my hand. So it has a 6.7-inch corner-to-corner screen, as well as a refresh rate of up to 120 Hertz. So I'm really curious how videos and photos are actually gonna look on this thing. All right, now to the, for me, most interesting part about this phone, the cameras. So this phone has a main camera, which is equivalent to a 26mm lens, as well as an ultra wide camera, which is equivalent to an 18mm lens, and a telephoto lens, which is equivalent to 105mm. Correction, 104mm. Now that sounds really interesting because let me show you what I have to bring with me when I want to cover all of those focal lengths. I would have to have this 24-70, this 70-200, and then the 16-35 that I'm filming on right now. Now, of course, I'm covering a little more focal length with all those three lenses, but I mean, if I just have one camera body and that covers all the way from 18mm up to 104mm, that's pretty impressive. Now, the big question, of course, is how do these cameras or lenses actually perform? And what's the quality like? By the way, the photos that you get out of the main camera are 50 megapixels. The ones from the ultra wide are 12 megapixels. And the one from the telephoto lens are 48 megapixels. That sounds pretty impressive. Now, we have to put that to the test later and see how good that actually looks in reality. So I'm gonna set this thing up now, get all my information on there, and then we'll take it out in the real world and see how it performs. All right, I slapped the case on real quick. Thanks Google for the protection. Now I'm gonna set it up. This is where we at. Let's get started. Getting your phone ready. This may take a few minutes. All right, let's do it. That's pretty cool. So you can just connect your old phone to the new phone with the cable that comes with it, and then it's just copying it. I really dig that. That's pretty cool. Oop. All right, says 9 minutes and then everything should be transferred. And I think we're all set up. I got all my social media channels set up, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Got my email set up. Everything seems to be okay. I'm curious how long it actually will last. Like, how long will the battery last? It does have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in there, so I assume it will do okay, but I'm curious, how long will it actually go? Do I need to charge it during the day, or is it going to last all day long? But we will find out. All right, with that being said, let's go and try this thing out in the real world. All right, so I was able to take the Google Pixel 6 Pro out into the real world. Check it out. Is the quality good? All those questions. I tested it all out, and now I'm gonna give you a couple of insights on how it all worked out. Okay, so let's start with launching the camera. So you can just use the regular icon on your home screen and do that. Or the Pixel also has a shortcut, which is just a double tap onto the power button. And then it basically opens the camera app. You have full control over everything. And it's just an easy and fast way to just get the phone out and capture and create right away. So let's check out the footage that I was able to capture with each of the lenses. This is a sample of the ultra-wide camera. As you can see, it gives you a pretty wide field of view. Everything looks pretty sharp. The image quality looks actually really good. Everything is crisp and in good lighting situations. As you can see here, there is basically no noise or anything weird going on. Now, of course, this is a JPEG and you have to consider that. The Pixel basically did the processing for you, so this is what it would look like. And I have to say, the quality looks really good. Now keep in mind that all this footage is unedited and comes straight out of camera. So this is basically what you get. Now here's a sample of the main camera. It gives you a little tighter field of view, still pretty wide. The picture quality is also really good. Everything is crisp and sharp. And the photo in general looks really high quality. Now coming up is the 2x zoom. This again looks really high quality and really good. I'm really surprised, pleasantly surprised, on how good the picture quality actually is and how good the AI actually is on exposing and processing everything without blowing out any highlights. Now the next thing really blew my mind. Now comes the 4x zoom. Now this is as far as it goes basically without doing any digital zooming, and the picture quality, the detail of this photo or that you get out of this camera is almost mind-blowing for me. This is basically my favorite camera on this phone, and combined with the awesome stabilization that they created, it just works amazing. Now because you have all these cameras on this phone now and everything is really high quality, you can do really cool things in photo and video. One of them is this, for example. I really like to include this into my videos, which is an establishing shot. Then you zoom a little bit more into the scenario, a little tighter, and then you actually zoom in a little closer to a specific area of this scenario, either where there is something spectacular happening or there's just something that stands out about this area. Now, since we're talking about video, now is a good time to mention the stabilization of all these cameras and this whole system. And that is basically what blew my mind the most. You have 4 modes of stabilization in this phone. Number 1 is standard, which gives you a little bit of stabilization. Number 2 is locked, which is basically a stabilization for your telezoom to get more steady shots and not so shaky footage, because everybody that has ever done some video with a longer lens knows that every little movement that you do with your hands basically influences the shakiness of the footage that you're getting. So stabilization plays a really big factor when it comes to video. Number 3 is active, and that really is mind-blowing almost. If you look at this footage, you can see a little bit of flicker in the middle when you look at the buildings, and look at how much I am actually shaking this camera and how still the footage is. That really, when I saw the footage afterwards, it blew my mind. Number 4 is stabilization for panning, and that's basically for panning left to right or up to down, and it really helps to not get any shaky footage. Stabilization does a really good job of making it look smooth without any shake in the actual footage. So next, let's talk about some other camera modes. So if you go under motion, you have 2 things that you can pick from. One is action pan, and the other one is long exposures. And if anybody has ever done, for example, a long exposure or light trail shot, we mostly use tripods for that, right? But with this phone, it's meant to be handheld. So this is an example of the action pan. You basically just pick a subject, if that's a car or a boat or whatever it is. It has to be moving, and then you basically just line it up with the camera, hit the shutter, and then you just wait until the photo is processed. And if you look at the result, it's pretty good. Now there will be times where it messes up or the AI is not calculating it 100% right, but for the most part, the shots look like this. And that's actually really good. Now for the long exposure mode, that's basically the exact opposite. For the panning, we had a subject that's supposed to be sharp and the surrounding area that's supposed to be blurry. With the long exposure, we have, for example, a building or an area that you want in focus, and everything that moves in the photo, like a car or a bus, is supposed to be blurry and create like a light trail, for example, at night. And it does work really well too. And then we have, for example, also the night sight mode, which is nothing new for most people, but it does do a good job, and it creates an image that basically does not have any noise. And then last but not least, we have portrait mode. Everybody knows about it by now, and it does a good job. The pictures look good, sharp, it blurs out the background, and it does pretty well. Is it as good as my professional camera? No, but it does a good job, and for the most part, you actually get some really good results. And if you're not happy with the blur that it automatically assigns to the photo, you can go to the settings afterwards in your photos and adjust the blur to your liking. Now, talking about your tools that you can use afterwards after you took the shot. There's one really cool tool, which is the eraser tool. This one is actually working really well. So you basically afterwards, if you have somebody that was photobombing you, or you have certain things in your photo that you just don't want to have in there, you basically just mark it roughly, and then the Pixel basically does the rest for you, and it does it pretty well. So I have put this phone through a few days how I would basically use it, and by no means am I a power user, but I shot a lot of videos and photos, edited some photos and video, used social media, and I was sending emails, watching YouTube videos, and doing all the day-to-day tasks that I normally would do. And by the end of the day, I was still at around 60%. Which is really good. Throughout my whole usage, the phone was always snappy and fast. It was never lagging, or it died on me, or an app was closing for no reason or got stuck. It was always very, snappy and fast. So as an all-around creating tool for a creator, I can definitely see how this phone comes in really handy. Now, is it as good as my computer? No. But having this thing with me in my pocket and being able to create on the go and interact with my clients, as well as managing my social media, my emails, and all that stuff while I'm not in the office is definitely really convenient. So on the other side, there are definitely some improvements that could be made in my opinion. There are two things in particular. One, for example, is the ultra wide camera is an 18mm equivalent, which I think is almost not ultra wide. For me, I think the sweet spot would be at 16mm. So I think if that improvement would be made, it would even make the camera an even better experience. The other thing would be a good and convenient solution for file transfer. As far as I know, there is nothing in place right now that lets you transfer files fast and conveniently, like for example, Apple's AirDrop. And for me as a creator, to transfer high quality files is definitely a big thing. And so it's a little bit of a bummer that this is not a standard on basically every phone, but who knows, maybe it will come in the soon future. So if I had to pick one thing out about this camera that stands out, then it's definitely the camera system, and in particular the stabilization modes. Those are really, in my opinion, almost a game changer. The more videos I shot and the more I dived into the stabilization modes and experimented, the more fun it was, and I basically didn't want to stop. Alright, and this brings us to the end of this video and review. I hope this helps you make up your mind if the Pixel 6 Pro is for you or not. If it was helpful for you, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below why you are considering this phone, or if you have any questions. And that's it. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.